After months of the cold shoulder, China welcoming Anthony Blinken to Beijing, it's the first visit by a U.S. cabinet official to China since 2019. During the pandemic, Chinese officials currently have all played up the notion that the U.S. is the most eager to meet. But behind the scenes, this meeting is very important because Beijing really wants Xi Jinping to actually be invited to an Asia Pacific Leaders Conference in San Francisco in November. And they also want a separate meeting with President Biden himself on U.S. soil. Secretary Blinken, who's literally speaking live with reporters right now, saying that currently the U.S. actually pushed not only for better lines of communication, but also asked for increased Chinese efforts to stop Chinese fentanyl being sent to Mexico for inclusion by the drug cartels into, and obviously making its way across our border, and then being responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of American citizens in the last several years. Perhaps most noteworthy, Crystal, right now is Secretary Blinken came out and said, quote, "We do not support Taiwan independence. We do not support any change to the unilateral status quo," saying that they are concerned by some Chinese moves made against Taiwan. Here's why that's important. It is a rhetorical gift towards the Taiwanese, also, though, without changing any U.S. government policy. The Taiwan Relations Act says that we recognize the current China, the People's Republic of China, as the only China. We do not, however, change or want any support for Taiwanese absorption into the overall Chinese state, and we still effectively support their sovereignty without recognizing them as their own nation. So it's a very convoluted system, but it is a rhetorical gift by Anthony Blinken in order to try and set engagement by not offering up any real policy change, but still coming out and saying we do not support Taiwan independence. And it's one of those where obviously you have to read it also in the same move of President Biden's comments, where he said repeatedly in the past he would actually support Taiwan if the Chinese would ever mount a military invasion against them.
It's not secret that the Chinese economy is slowing down. And this is a very, very bad sign for China and for the Chinese people. Because you must remember that China relies mostly on its export. They raise the highest revenue from exporting their finished goods to other countries. And with the inflation that the world is facing, people are like, maybe we should slow down. Maybe actually that new pair of shoe, I don't need it. Or that new pair of t-shirt, maybe I will just use my old t-shirts. you know, money is in short supply and everyone is being very careful with their spending. By so doing, China is greatly affected. The American Secretary of State visited China. He met with top-ranking Chinese officials and they discussed so many things. But if there's one thing that caught my attention, it was when he mentioned Taiwan. He said that America does not support Taiwan's independence. So this was what really caught my attention. And I'm like, if the Taiwanese are somehow thinking that the Americans are there looking out for them, I mean, they're looking out for the Taiwanese, then I think they haven't learned anything from history. If the Taiwanese authorities or policymakers are like, let's align ourselves with the Americans because they will come to our aid if things go south, then I think that the Taiwanese authorities really haven't learned anything. Because if they have learned anything, or if they know anything, they must have realized that America actually isn't looking out for anybody, right? They are not out there like, these are our friends. For better, for worse, we will stand for them. No, they are not like that, right? They are out there looking out for America's interests. They are out there looking out for what they are going to benefit. The Americans have never, ever been selfless or ever done anything selflessly for other nations. Do you know the number of leaders they've overthrown in Africa? Do you know the number of leaders that the CIA have taken out? Do you know the number of coups, the number of insurgency that their so-called CIA has orchestrated in Africa? Do you know? A lot of them. So Taiwanese should be thinking of how to protect themselves. Taiwanese should be working on their defenses, and they must understand that America might not come to their aid in case China decided to attack them. They must understand this by now, that America is just there for their own interests. They must have seen what happened in Afghanistan after the 10, 15 years war in Afghanistan, and they left. They went there to put certain things in place. They went there because they want the people of Afghanistan to have democracy, to have rule of law. But when they got there and got what they wanted, they left without thinking if the reason for going into Afghanistan has been met or not. Now, the Taliban is in control and they have reversed everything in Afghanistan. They came in that they want to restore peace and democracy in Libya. And so they took out Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. And what has happened to Libya today? Libya is way more worse than it ever was under Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. So the Taiwanese should be seeing all this as an example of what American foreign policy is towards other nations. They will never do anything that doesn't benefit them. Coming back to China, I really do not understand why China has to be jumpy when anyone or whenever someone mentions the word Taiwan. I don't get it. China is a very prosperous nation. China doesn't really need Taiwan. So they should let Taiwan be. China doesn't really need anything from Taiwan, nor Taiwan need anything from China. Taiwan is getting everything done its own way. And Taiwan is making sure that Taiwanese people have all what they need. There's nothing that is going to attract Taiwan to join China. And if anyone thought that Taiwan-China unification was a thing, then that person must be daydreaming. Because I think we've passed that already. Taiwan is never going to be joining China. I don't think so. I don't even think so. Because it's like two parallel lines, right? Mainland China is a communist nation. Taiwan is a democratic nation. So how do you think these two people will ever come together? Especially Taiwan going to join mainland. I wouldn't. If I were the one, I wouldn't. Because mainland China would simply swallow Taiwan. So why should I? Why should I? All this is just power play. And Taiwan is in the middle. Taiwan is being kicked back and forth. But you guys out there, what is your take on Taiwan? And do you think they will ever gain their independence? And if so, what will happen if they do? Let's say, for example, hypothetically, Taiwan just wake up one morning and declare that they are an independent country. I know they are independent, but they haven't said it right. And many countries in the world don't recognize them because they haven't said it right. What if they wake up one day and declare? Will China invade? And if China does, then what happens? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. And also, please don't forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because little bit of good the one you're doing just now, help us a lot. I shall ever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.